You don't need another productivity system. You don't need a better app, a better morning playlist, or a coach yelling at you through your screen. What you need is silence, structure, sovereignty. Because if you're here, chances are something's not working. You keep moving, but it feels like motion without meaning. You've built a career, supported others, but somewhere along the way, you stopped building yourself. This video isn't for those chasing hacks. It's for men ready to take back what they once had. Direction. For the next 30 minutes, we're not going to add more noise to your life. We're going to cut through it. We'll start where the Stoics start, with you. Not your calendar, not your goals, you. We'll look at the internal clutter first, the unfinished conversations in your head, the scattered focus, the fatigue that doesn't come from work but from delay. Because real organization doesn't begin on a screen. It begins in your soul, and you already know it's time. Like this video if you're done waiting, subscribe for grounded, no-fluff content built for men who lead, and share this with someone who needs fewer distractions and more direction. Let's not chase motivation, let's reclaim mastery. Are you ready? Let's begin. 1. Audit yourself before you fix your schedule. You can build the most detailed schedule in the world. Color-coded, optimized, packed with goals. But if your inner world is cluttered, none of it will hold. Like pouring concrete on unstable soil, it may look solid for a while, but it will crack, and it will collapse. That's where most men start wrong. They try to organize their life from the outside. They search for structure in productivity tools, in apps, in new books. They rearrange the furniture, but ignore the foundation. Then they wonder why it never sticks. The truth is simple, even if it's hard to face. Procrastination is rarely about time. It's about clarity. Most of the time, you're not stuck because you don't know what to do. You're stuck because you don't know why you're doing it anymore. You've lost connection with the man you once said you'd become. Somewhere along the line, you started moving without direction. You didn't notice when motion replaced meaning. And now, your days are full, but your soul is silent. This is where Stoicism cuts deeper than any system or app. Marcus Aurelius never wrote about checklists. He wrote about the self, about returning inward, about examining your intentions before your actions. He knew that a structure without reflection is like a house without a compass. It might stand, but it won't point anywhere. So before you fix your schedule, audit your mind, sit with it. Not for 10 seconds between emails, not while scrolling your phone, but fully, quietly, without distraction. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What do I keep postponing? Not because it's hard, but because it forces me to face something uncomfortable. What silent weight have I carried for years but never addressed? These aren't soft questions. They're the beginning of sovereignty. Imagine a man staring at his cluttered garage. He keeps buying new shelves. He tries to arrange things tighter. But the mess returns because the issue was never the shelves. It was the fact that he refused to throw anything away. The mental garage is the same. Most men don't need better tools. They need fewer excuses. And it's not about guilt. It's about ownership. The power that comes when you admit what's really going on beneath the surface, the fear, the doubt, the self-neglect, and decide that it doesn't own you anymore. The Stoics taught that freedom begins with what's in your control. You can't change yesterday. You can't stop time. But you can sit down today with a pen and a piece of paper and face yourself. Not as a critic, but as a craftsman ready to rebuild. Write this down. What 3 thoughts are keeping me stuck? What truth am I pretending not to see? And who would I be if I stopped running from it? No list, no system, and no calendar will fix what you won't confront. Start there. Everything else comes after. 2. Make a list you can actually finish. It's easy to make a list. Anyone can sit down and write out 10, 15, or even 30 things they should do today. But that's not discipline. That's a distraction in disguise. A bloated list doesn't make you productive. It makes you feel productive while keeping you stuck. A list is supposed to be a blueprint, a quiet plan for building progress. But most men turn it into a fantasy, a washboard for the man they wish they were, not the man they are. You write down too much, expect too much, and finish too little. You end the day feeling behind. Again, that's the trap. You confuse motion with meaning, tasks with progress, quantity with impact. Then you wonder why you're tired, frustrated, and feeling like your wheels keep spinning, but the road never moves. Stoicism doesn't care how long your list is. Marcus Aurelius never told himself to finish 20 things before lunch. What he did say, again and again, was to do what is essential. Do what is yours, and do it well. That's where the line is drawn between noise and purpose. So before you write another list, ask yourself what truly matters today. Not in theory, in practice. Not what impresses others, what actually moves the needle in your own life. What restores clarity, what protects your peace. Imagine walking onto a construction site where a foreman hands out 50 tasks to one man in a single shift. You know what happens next. Nothing gets finished. The corners get cut, pressure builds, mistakes multiply. But if he assigns 3 critical jobs that matter, and gives the man space to do them right, the result is solid, lasting, real. Your life is that site. Your mind is that foreman. Stop overwhelming the worker. Give him direction. Start by limiting your list to 3 essential tasks. Not urgent, essential. And give yourself one permission to finish them completely with presence. Attach time to them, real time. Not vague windows of maybe. Block them. Name them. Own them. Don't just write work on project. Write draft 500 words between 10 and 11 a.m. without interruption. Don't say get in shape. Say walk for 25 minutes at 6 a.m. No excuses. The more precise the task, the less space there is for escape. And if your list feels small, good. Let it. Your list isn't a competition. It's a contract between who you are and who you're becoming. You don't need more boxes to check. You need more meaning in the ones you already wrote. The Stoics taught that clarity beats ambition when it's anchored in action. So start small, finish well, then sleep with dignity, because a short list done right will always outbuild a long list abandoned halfway. Every time. 3. Mornings, command center. There's a difference between waking up and starting the day. Most men do the first, few commit to the second. Eyes open, the body moves, but the mind's still hostage. Emails, headlines, noise. The moment you reach for your phone, you've already surrendered. You didn't claim your morning, you handed it over. The morning isn't just a time slot, it's a threshold, a quiet doorway between who you were yesterday and who you're choosing to be today. And if you cross that threshold without awareness, the day will own you. You'll chase tasks you didn't choose. You'll solve problems you didn't create. You'll fight fires that weren't yours to begin with. But when you treat the morning like your command center, a place of discipline, not distraction, everything shifts. You lead. You don't react. You execute your plan instead of following someone else's urgency. That's the difference between a scattered day and a structured life. Most people start their morning with consumption, noise, inputs, dopamine hits. It feels like momentum, but it's erosion. You lose the edge, you lose clarity, and soon you forget what stillness felt like. You forget what it means to direct your own time. Marcus Aurelius didn't scroll, he didn't sprint. He wrote. He sat in silence and prepared his mind like a soldier cleaning his weapon. Not because it looked productive, but because it built something stronger than momentum. It built resolve. So start there. Carve out 30 minutes. Protect it like territory. Wake early, not because it's trendy, but because it's quiet. Sit with your thoughts before the world forces its own into you. No screens, no noise, just presence. Write 3 sentences, not for others, but for yourself. One about what you're committed to. One about how you feel. One about what matters today, no matter what comes. That's your battle plan. And if you fail tomorrow, start again the day after. The ritual matters more than the record. This isn't about winning every morning. It's about owning it, one at a time. Because if you lose the first hour, the day becomes recovery. But if you win it, the rest falls into rhythm. Imagine walking into a job site where every tool is scattered. The crew has no instructions, and no one knows who's in charge. You don't build anything in that mess. The morning is your job site. Your tools are your thoughts. Your crew is your attention. Take control before chaos does. Don't wait to feel ready. Readiness isn't what creates action. Action creates readiness. That's what the Stoics knew. Purpose comes when you stop drifting and start directing. So tomorrow, don't just wake up. Show up. Lead yourself before the day does, and begin, not with urgency, but with presence. One breath, one sentence. One decision, that's how real order begins. Quiet, strong, yours. 4. Build rituals, not willpower. Willpower fades. That's a fact. It wears down like a dull blade by mid-afternoon. No matter how disciplined you think you are, no man carries the same sharpness from dawn to dusk. That's not failure. That's design. So if you're still trying to live on motivation or raw effort, you're building your life on sand. Strong days don't come from force. They come from structure. Too many men think strength means pushing harder, grinding longer, outworking exhaustion. But the men who last, the ones who build, lead, and endure, don't chase discipline. They install it, quietly, repeatedly, day after day, through simple rituals that hold firm when energy and focus do not. Ritual is not superstition. It's not fluff. It's the steel frame under pressure. The checklist a pilot uses before takeoff. The system a craftsman relies on when his mind is tired but his hands know the shape of the work. Ritual removes choice when choice becomes a weakness, and that's exactly when it becomes strength. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus spoke often about habits, not as chains but as anchors. Marcus Aurelius wrote every morning, not because it made him feel good, but because it reminded him who he was. Each entry was a calibration, each reflection a reset. Rituals for them were shields, not goals. That's where many men fall. They wait to feel ready. They wait for fire, for momentum. But you weren't made to run on sparks. You were made to build systems that work even when you don't. So start small. Choose one ritual, one act done at the same time, in the same place, with the same level of attention every day, no matter what. Not because you want to, but because it matters. Maybe it's 5 quiet minutes with a notebook before the world speaks. Maybe it's cleaning your desk before you walk out. Maybe it's sitting in silence at sunset, reflecting on where your time actually went. It doesn't need to look impressive. It needs to be real. Repeatable. Yours. Think of it like pouring concrete. 1 slab a day. It seems slow, uneventful, but after 30 days, you've built a floor that doesn't shake when life does. While other men are scrambling for discipline, you've already acted because you didn't need to think. You simply followed the code you laid down. The goal isn't performance. The goal is identity. You don't do the ritual to prove anything to anyone. You do it because you're the kind of man who keeps his word, even in private, especially in private. Don't depend on mood. Depends on the method. Install the ritual and trust it when your strength wavers. Because the man who trains his systems is the man who doesn't fold under pressure. He doesn't hesitate. He moves because the structure is already in place. 5. Clean your space equals clear your mind. Every man has a drawer he avoids, a shelf he piles with papers, a corner he says he'll sort out one of these days. What he doesn't always realize is that the clutter in his space often mirrors the clutter in his head. The unfinished, the unorganized, the ignored, these things don't just collect dust, they collect weight. And over time that weight steals clarity. It drags on focus, it becomes noise. There's a story we tell ourselves. Once I get my mind straight, I'll get things in order. But often, it works the other way around. You change your space first. You remove what doesn't belong. You choose simplicity. Not for aesthetics, but for sanity. Because your environment is not neutral. It shapes your behavior. It speaks when your discipline is silent. Walk into a chaotic workspace and watch what happens. You sit down with good intent, but within minutes, your attention is split. Your brain doesn't know where to rest. Every object becomes a whisper. You still haven't handled this. That constant mental noise leads to friction. And friction leads to fatigue. Not physical, but cognitive. And it kills momentum. Stoic thinkers understood this without ever saying the word declutter. They believed in aligning the outer world with the inner one. Seneca spoke of simplicity not as poverty, but as power. A way to strip life of what was unnecessary so that what remained had weight. That's why cleaning your space isn't just about tidiness. It's about truth. It's a silent act of alignment, a way to say, this matters, the rest doesn't. So don't wait for the mood to strike. Don't wait for the weekend. Look at one part of your world, your desk, your car, your nightstand, and restore it. Not with fury, with intent. One drawer at a time, one item at a time. And as you do, listen to what leaves with each thing you remove. Sometimes it's just trash, but sometimes it's a story you no longer need to tell. This process isn't about being perfect. It's about reclaiming presence. Because when your space is clear, your mind breathes. You stop tripping over distraction. You stop apologizing to yourself for what you keep delaying. And you start moving with direction again. Imagine walking into a well-run workshop, tools lined up, surfaces clean. Everything within reach. A man could build anything in there. Not because the tools are fancy, but because the space honors the work. Your life deserves that. Your goals do too. So make space, physically and mentally. Remove what interrupts, keep what supports. And remember, every object has a voice. Choose what speaks to who you're becoming, not who you've been afraid to leave behind. Because a clear space isn't just easier to work in, it's harder to lie in. And that's when the real building begins. 6. Say no to noise, say yes to structure. Discipline doesn't collapse in moments of weakness. It erodes quietly through noise. Not the loud kind, but the kind that creeps in through open tabs, background conversations, pointless alerts, and shallow scrolling. You start your day with a goal, but by noon you've checked 10 apps and answered emails that didn't need answering. Not because you're lazy, because your space, digital and physical, is wired for chaos. Chaos always wins when structure doesn't exist. We've made the mistake of thinking that more access means more control. But what it really means is less clarity. Every open input splits the mind, and the more divided your attention, the less precise your action. You begin to react, not respond. You drift instead of lead. And drifting is how you lose time, not in hours, but in presence. That's where the Stoic mindset draws a hard line. The world can scream, but your focus must remain yours. Epictetus warned not to hand your mind over to random impressions. He didn't live with push notifications, but he knew distraction by another name. Temptation. And like any wise builder, he chose the blueprint over the noise. So you need structure. Not as a cage, but as scaffolding. Something solid to hold your time in place while the wind blows around you. That means building rituals in your environment. Blocking out low-value tasks. Creating boundaries with people who confuse your purpose. Your schedule shouldn't be a wish list. It should be a defense plan, and your space should enforce it. Picture your life as a control room. If every switch is lit, every screen blinking, every alarm sounds at once, nothing gets heard. But if the noise is filtered, if the systems run clean, the operator can focus. That's the goal. Not to remove all sound, but to control what comes in. Let your priorities speak louder than your distractions. Start by reducing points of friction. Turn off non-essential notifications. Place your phone in another room for deep work. Cancel meetings that don't move the needle. Tell people no, clearly, kindly, and without guilt. Say yes only to what feeds your mission. Because saying no isn't resistance, it's direction, it's leadership. And if that feels uncomfortable, good. That's a sign you've been too available. Too open to other people's plans, too vulnerable to randomness. You can't build order while letting noise dictate the rhythm. So let the world be loud, but make your life quiet, intentionally quiet. The structure isn't about rigidity, it's about respect. For your time, your values, your mind. A man without structure ends up building someone else's dream. But a man who owns his schedule owns his future. So look at your day. Where are the leaks? What can you silence? What deserves your full attention? Say no, not out of rejection, but out of resolve. Because when you choose structure over noise, you choose who you become, one clear hour at a time. 7. Don't wait for motivation. Use micro-actions. Motivation is like the weather. Unpredictable, unstable, and entirely outside your control. It may come when you least expect it, but it almost never shows up when you need it most. And yet, too many men still wait for it. They sit on good intentions. They tell themselves, when I feel ready, I'll start. But days pass, then weeks, then years. Readiness never arrives, and life becomes a hallway filled with unfinished doors. The truth is, your life won't move because you feel inspired. It moves when you act, and not in grand, sweeping efforts, but in small, deliberate motion. The kind that feels almost insignificant in the moment, but compounded, becomes a force. This is where real momentum lives. Not in adrenaline, not in the hype, but in consistency. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius didn't wait to feel like a philosopher. He acted like one, even on the days when his body was sore, his mind scattered, and his heart tired. He believed action creates clarity, not the other way around. You don't think your way into excellence. You behave your way into it, one steady, intentional act at a time. That's why micro-actions matter. Because they bypass resistance. They ignore the voice in your head saying, I'm not ready. A 5-minute walk. One paragraph is written. One drawer was cleaned. It's not about the size of the effort. It's about what it signals to your mind. I'm moving forward. And movement, even the smallest kind, rewires your identity faster than any internal pep talk. Imagine a man standing at the bottom of a long staircase. He keeps looking at the top, overwhelmed. So he does nothing. Days pass, nothing changes. But if he just placed his foot on the first step, everything would shift. Not because he reached the top, but because now he's in motion. Motion creates gravity. It pulls you forward. And that's where discipline begins. Not in conquering, but in beginning. So build a system around micro-actions. Embed them into your mornings, your breaks, your moments of hesitation. Let them become the new default. Instead of waiting for the perfect time, lower the barrier. Shrink the task. Focus on the start, not the finish. The finish will take care of itself. This isn't laziness, it's leverage. It's turning what used to block you into something that moves you. One push-up, one sentence, one phone call. These aren't small wins. They're silent revolutions. They teach your body that you don't need ideal conditions. You only need enough clarity to do the next right thing. Motivation may come later, but it won't matter. Because by then, you've already become the kind of man who moves with or without it. And that kind of momentum, slow, strong, self-owned, is what lasts. 8. Progress is peaceful, not loud. Progress doesn't always roar. Most of the time it whispers. No applause, no spotlight, just a man showing up for his own life while no one's watching. But that's the kind of progress that lasts. Not the kind fueled by adrenaline or the drama of reinvention. The kind that's built in silence, through choices that look small from the outside but carry weight on the inside. We've been sold a lie that change must be bold to be real. That it needs to be declared, posted, tracked, and measured. What if it doesn't make noise? It doesn't count. But real growth isn't a spectacle. It's a process. A slow, steady rearrangement of priorities. A shift in how you move through your day, how you talk to yourself, how you choose to act when motivation disappears and no one is keeping score. Men often fall for the illusion of speed. They want breakthroughs, transformations, and grand plans that turn the tide in one go. But the Stoics knew that character isn't forged in moments of passion. It's shaped in repetition. Marcus Aurelius never praised intensity. He honored consistency. He understood that a man who repeats what matters calmly and clearly is more dangerous than a man who burns hot and fades. That's why your change doesn't need to be impressive. It needs to be honest. You don't need a dramatic reset. You need a quiet commitment. You don't need the world to see. You need your actions to align, day after day, with the man you promised yourself you'd become. Picture a mason laying bricks, one at a time. No music, no cameras, just mortar and precision. At the end of the week, it looks like little, but over months, a structure stands. Something solid, something earned. Your habits are those bricks. Your routine is the mortar. The man you become is the wall that rises. So give yourself permission to move slowly, but never backward. Let your pace be calm. Let your method be unshaken. You don't need pressure to prove. You need structure to sustain. And the more quietly you work, the more powerful the results become. Start with one decision, not one announcement. One choice, followed by another and another. Wake, write, move, reflect. Not for applause, for alignment, for strength, for peace. Because peace isn't the absence of noise, it's the presence of purpose. And when you finally stop chasing the noise, you'll start to feel the power in that silence, the quiet pull of a life in order, not by accident, but by design. Let others rush, let others broadcast. You build, you repeat, you rise. Quietly, strongly, always forward. Because progress doesn't need to be loud to change your life. It just needs to be yours. And it needs to begin now. If you've made it this far, you already know something most men ignore their entire lives. That real order begins from within. It doesn't come from a perfect calendar or a shiny new app. It comes from stillness, from structure, from choosing every day to become a man of action rather than a man of intention. We've walked through 8 principles grounded in Stoic clarity and built for the modern world. Audit yourself before you organize. Focus on lists you can actually finish. Own your morning like it's your command center. Build rituals instead of burning out on willpower. Clear your space to clear your mind. Say no to noise and yes to structure. Stop waiting for motivation. And finally, honor quiet progress over loud promises. None of this is glamorous, and that's the point. What transforms a man isn't how loudly he announces change, it's how consistently he shows up for it, day after day, quietly, intentionally, on his own terms. So now the question turns to you. Will you take these lessons and put them to work in your life? Or will they become another file saved, another idea shelved? Start small, one habit, 1 hour, one sentence written in silence before the noise returns, then repeat. And as you begin, I invite you to share your story in the comments. Tell me, where are you starting from? What part of your life needs structure most? Your story may help another man reclaim his. Discipline isn't a performance, it's a practice. And it begins not tomorrow, but today, with one decision, one moment of clarity, and the choice to follow through. Start there and keep going.